If you've got pupils joining you from Ukraine and you want to help bridge the language gap, there's two simple extensions that you can install that can really help. And the first one we're going to look at today is, of course, our very own Read and Write. And if you don't have it as a school or district, you can install that directly from the Google Chrome extension store or from texthelp.com. And the second one you're going to need is the standard Google Translate extension. And again, you can install that from the Chrome web store. Once those are both installed, you'll see the Read and Write icon just in the top right of your bar and also the Google Translate icon right here. So let's see how we can use these. I'm going to jump into a news page. This is a news page in Ukrainian. Perhaps we need some help with reading this aloud. Of course, we can use the Read and Write toolbar. So let's just open Read and Write. And all we need to do at the outset is set the language settings in order to enable this. So we're going to go to our three dots. We're going to go to settings. And then we're going to change the voice. So this is the voice that the language will be read out in. So I'm going to look through this and I'm going to go all the way down and I'm going to find Ukrainian. So if I just keep going all the way down the list, you'll see that as we get very near the end here, we will find Ukrainian. So Ukrainian female Lisa. So we're going to click this. And then down the bottom here, we're going to click the translation setting right here. And we're going to do exactly the same. So towards the bottom of the list, these are in alphabetical order. And we'll scroll down and we'll find Ukrainian on the bottom. And we'll just press save button. And now we're ready to go. So if a pupil in your class would like this read aloud in Ukrainian, they can of course press the speech hover button and directly hover over any Ukrainian words on the page.
Президент України Володимир Зеленський нагородив орденом Свободи прем'єр-міністра Великої Британії.
And another press of the button will just turn that off. So we'll press stop button. So that's helpful in order to help us have Ukrainian text read aloud. And that's also useful if you have Ukrainian text, for example, in your Google Classroom setting that you're distributing to Ukrainian students. Another way that this can help is the translate button. So if we go to a standard web page, so this is just a BBC web page, and perhaps your pupils and students are discovering a word for the first time in English on this page and could do with some help. So I'll take the word astronauts. And I'm going to highlight the word astronauts. And instead of having that read aloud, I'm going to use the translate button, which is directly located in the Read and Write toolbar. So I press that once. And now what you'll see is the English word astronauts is presented and I can play that back.
Astronauts.
But below that, you'll see the Ukrainian word. So it's helpful to bridge the gap between the English word that may be new to the pupil and the traditional Ukrainian word for that word itself. So I can also do this in Google Docs or I can do it in a Microsoft Word document. So again, I can hit the earthquakes word, press the translate button, and you'll see I have the Ukrainian translation directly here. So I can do this at one word at a time. So what then happens in Google Classroom? There's a couple of ways that you can use both Read and Write and the Google Translate extension. So if I had to go to my Google Classroom and I want to send something to my pupils, if I'm a teacher and I want to bridge the gap by having both languages within there, I can of course put an announcement on the page here and I could say read pages 2, 2, 3 and complete. Okay. So simple instructions that I'd send out in English to my class. So if I highlight this passage, I can simply right click it and I can drop all the way down in my context menu to Google Translate and that will take me to the Google Translate button right here. And you'll see on the left hand side there's my English and in the middle I can change the language, so I can go to the drop down button right here and select Ukrainian. I've previously done this so it's going to be there and remember this. I'm going to select Ukrainian. I'm going to go to the copy translation button and now I'm going to go back to my Google Classroom. I'm simply going to paste that in and now I've been able to hand out instructions in both English and Ukrainian within my Google Classroom. So I'm going to just post that to the class. And of course, whenever a class actually gets this, they're going to be able to read that directly using the toolbar from Read and Write to have that Ukrainian read aloud. Now, what happens when you're a pupil and you want to actually have the entire Google Classroom translated? Well, this is quite simple. I can simply go to any blank area on my Google Classroom as a pupil. I right click and I go down to translate to English. Okay, so I'm going to say translate to English. So I'm going to press translate to English. Okay, and you'll see that actually nothing has happened there on the page because the first time I do this, I want to change it to default to translate to Ukrainian. So I'm going to go up to the three dots at the top of the page. I'm going to choose another language And in the drop down box, I'm going to select Ukrainian directly on the page. So let's go all the way down to Ukrainian. Okay, so we'll pick this on the drop down menu and I'm going to press translate, and you'll see immediately there now on the page everything has been translated directly into Ukrainian, and anything that was Ukrainian will be translated directly into English as well. So now my Ukrainian pupils will have the Google Classroom that you're using, that all of your other students who are studying through the medium of English and where English is perhaps their primary language, they now have Google Classroom directly in Ukrainian. So again, simply right click, and next time that they go to the translate to, they'll see translate to Ukrainian, and it's one click in that menu and the entirety of Google Classroom will be changed. And remember, of course, again, when we have this available to us, if students need some help having this read aloud, we can very simply open the Read and Write toolbar. And the Read and Write toolbar now, if you remember, we set it to Ukrainian. So we can have this read aloud in Ukrainian and any instructions here directly on the page.
Клас файлів із турбонаддувом.
And that's how we can use two extensions, the Read and Write extension from TextHelp at texthelp.com and the Google Translate extension directly from the Chrome store, to support pupils where they're studying through the medium of English and Ukrainian is indeed their first language. I hope that was helpful, and if you need any more help, by all means reach out and get in touch with me at edtech@texthelp.com, and we'll be happy to help you with anything relating to setting up Read and Write toolbar or indeed Google Translate.